Hey everyone, it's Conrad Bobilak here, CEO of Investors Prime Real Estate and a best-selling author of Australian Real Estate Investing Made Simple. Welcome to the first video for 2023. Now, I'm really excited about 23. I know that there's a lot of doom and gloom in the market, but there's a lot of opportunities at the same time. And the smartest investors are going in hard now, negotiating with developers, getting stock below market at a wholesale price. So, during this period of time where there's volatility and we're at the bottom of the cycle, and I think the year will be very interesting as it plays out. I think there'll be more interest rate cuts, which I'll cover today. And I'm going to focus about inflation, interest rate cuts, and where the market's heading this year and what's going to happen towards the end of the year. And so it's a really exciting video. But look, the doom and gloom in the media, I think is real, definitely. And there's a lot of families doing it hard. So I'm not trying to discount the fact that there's record high mortgage stress, and I've covered this extensively in a lot of other videos, and I've shown you the heat maps of where the highest concentration of mortgage stress in Melbourne is and which suburbs. And there's a lot of areas where, unfortunately, the lowest income families have been hit the hardest, and they have extremely high mortgage stress. In fact, some streets have 8 out of 10 houses 30, 60, and even 90 days behind in their mortgages. And 90 days behind your mortgage, which means you've missed 3 repayments, really means that the banks can repossess your property and sell it. So welcome to today's video. We're going to unpack all these topics. And more importantly, I'm going to talk about what sophisticated investors believe right now is happening, where they're putting their money, where are the opportunities, and how do you make money in this environment? How do you turn all these negative things that are happening in the economy, both domestically and globally, into a win-win situation? Because that's what we're here to do. This channel is all about how do you make money out of real estate, number one. Number two, how do you avoid making mistakes, which are very costly in real estate. And if you buy the wrong property, in the wrong area for the wrong amount, at the wrong time, it's going to be very difficult for you to build wealth. So that's what I want to cover extensively today. Now, bit of a disclaimer. This is all purely for educational purposes only. I've never met you. I don't know your financial situation or financial standing. So by all means, before you do anything, seek independent financial advice from someone who's not only qualified to give you advice, but has the exact results that you want to achieve. And that's the key. Don't get advice from dead broke academics because they can't help you become wealthy. You can only become wealthy, guys, by going to people that are wealthy, that are doing it right now in this current market. Bit of background about myself. I won't bore you to death, but I've got a degree at Monash University. I did a commerce degree. Nearly did an MBA, more about advice. I'm also a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, and I've got a diploma of financial services, financial planning. The most important thing about myself is that I run a real estate company. I'm a property investor, and I'm dealing with investors, valuers, mortgage brokers, accountants every day of the week. So I'm helping clients build up large property portfolios. I've got clients that are buying the 8th, 9th, 10th property. It's crazy how much money they've made. And I'm putting a book together of case studies, by the way, which would document their journey. And people have made $300,000-$400,000 just in the last 2 years out of some of the properties that I've sourced. So stay tuned for future videos on my YouTube channel. I'm going to show you actual examples of properties that I've sourced in Melbourne that have gone up by $200,000 and $300,000 in 2 and 3 years, which is incredible. It's actually beyond what I thought they'll do, but I'm happy to take the credit for it. I'm also the best-selling author of Australian Real Estate Investing Made Simple. That's hit number 1 on Amazon and other places many times. So I want to thank you guys for supporting my book, and I'm selling hundreds and hundreds of books per month. Interestingly, last week, just sitting in a cafe with my wife and looking at Amazon, I just randomly looked at my book, and under bestsellers investments, my real estate investing made simple was number 1, and my finance one was number 4. This is a screenshot from my phone. And then in another category, which is buying and selling homes, finance was number 1, which is crazy. So really thank you guys for buying my books. And by the way, if you do want to get a copy, you can get it from Amazon, any good bookshop, Booktopia, or you can go onto my website, bookonfinance.com.au, and buy it there. You get a bunch of freebies and home studies and other things packaged up as well, which you don't get from the other shops. Same thing with Real Estate Investing Made Simple. RealestateMadeSimple.com.au. You can get a copy of my book, and that way you can end up on our client database, and you can get all our other emails and alerts and information that we send out to our investors regularly. And that's pretty much it. Now, what we're going to do is jump into what's happening in the market right now. And we're going to look at some interesting data, some interesting stats. And I always go back to the big picture, because really you can get caught up in the minutia and the doom and gloom and Armageddon of the daily news. But really you've got to step back and look at the big picture, because property investing is all about long-term horizon of 10, 15 years. If you look at the Australian property market, in terms of the value of residential real estate, it's valued at $9.3 trillion. It was actually close to $10 trillion last year. It's gone down a little bit. We have $2.1 trillion worth of mortgages. So we've got about 25% of mortgages out there. Now, if you had a household with $1 million and you had 250 grand mortgage against your household, would you be stressed? Not really. There's a lot of properties in Australia that are completely unencumbered. So when people talk about this stress that, on renters, on tenants, landlords overcommitting, people coming out of this tsunami of fixed rates, and they're getting variable rates, and they're going from a fixed rate of 2% coming out at 4.5%. It doesn't impact the whole market, guys. Okay, you got to understand that 75% of all properties in Australia are paid off. They have no equity. They have equity in them. They have no debt or very little debt secured against them. Majority of the mortgage stress occurs in the fringe suburbs of every major capital city, the new house and land estates where people have borrowed 90%. So in Melbourne, it's your Point Cook, Truganina, Tarneit, and your Roxborough Parks, and your Pakenham and Berwick's. If you look at Ormond, McKinnon, there's no mortgages in that suburb. People have paid off houses with tiny mortgages and extremely high-paying jobs. This is why fundamentally you've got to stick to the rule, especially when there's economic turmoil and recession potentially looming in the future. You've got to go for suburbs with extremely high income demographics per household. Now, where do you get that data? You get the data from census data, which is the Australian government data, and also from id.com.au, incomedemographics.com.au. So you've got to find households with a very high income per week that they earn, with very stable jobs, predominantly white-collar jobs, doctors, dentists, architects, management, banking and finance. And you've got to also find suburbs where there's very little mortgages. And then just park your money in there, My opinion now with the market is that there is no market risk. There's only investor risk. The biggest risk in terms of making money is you. You're the risk and your level of knowledge. So if you feel uncertain right now in terms of what's happening, you should exactly feel that based on your level of knowledge, because you don't know anything, right? So it's like saying to me, go and take that helicopter from St Kilda Road and land it in Portsea. Well, there's no chance I could do that. This is how smart I am. But if I had 10,000 hours of flight experience and I got my chopper license, I could probably take off in St Kilda Road and then land safely in Portsea. Would you agree? So it just has to do with how much time you're willing to spend in a given area. And I'm telling you, someone that has spent tens of thousands of hours in 25 years looking at the same market, there's no market risk at all. All the risk is with you. You're the risk. Look in the mirror and say, I'm the risk, not the market. And your level of knowledge determines your level of success. That's all it is. Because people make more money in a downward trending market than an upward trending market. That's the key. At the bottom of the market, there's a transfer of wealth between the uneducated to the educated. And what does it mean? It means developers that have bought more during the GFC than any other time in their whole life, and they're buying more now. They're buying development sites from other developers that have gone bust because they're ready. They know how to assess the opportunity and they're taking advantage of it. Let's look at Australian dwelling values. So 3 months, negative 3.3. This is national. So we're going to go macro level first. 12 months, negative 5.3. In terms of 3 months average, and obviously we're looking at where we are holistically as a nation, we've turned the bottom in December. So the bottom of the market was really December. We bounced off the bottom. Now, could we go back again? Potentially, if the RBA increases rates 3 or 4 more times, we could see a W pattern occurring, and then we're going to go up. We're definitely going to go back up, okay, because the market is cyclical. It goes up and down. So for those of you that are engineering people out there who have never invested and you're happy to pay $60,000 in tax every year, you've missed the bottom of the cycle again. The bottom was December. It's now February, and it's gone up. The most important thing you have to understand is that cost of construction in Melbourne for an average 175 square metre townhouse, which is a 3-bedroom double lock-up garage townhouse, has gone up by $96,000 in 12 months. And that will never go back again because inflation keeps going up. So properties will never go back to a level pre-COVID-19. It is impossible to create them as a product. So the cost of raw materials plus the margin, it cannot be done. Do you guys understand? So you can't, if you're waiting for this magic moment where it's going to go down even further, you won't go even further because you can't create the product anymore. The raw materials have an X value to them and a cost. So you're going to pay more. So basically, whatever you bought before COVID-19, you would have made $100,000 to $200,000 on that property, and some of them would have gone back $50,000, but you can't go back $200,000. It is impossible. And this is what people don't understand. People think that it's just going to keep going down and they're going to buy somewhere over here, make all the money. Well, you know, it's already turning. So what are you going to do? Are you going to buy tomorrow? Like, what are you going to do now? For all those you guys who want to time the market, time it. There it is. Okay? Time it now. Do your magic thing that you were waiting for. Okay? See how well it serves you. It's BS, guys. It doesn't work. And the problem is, we're at the bottom of the market. Interest rates are double what they were 2 years ago. So your serviceability is probably $200,000 lower. And you know what the worst thing is? There's no good stock on the market. There is no good stock on the market. And I'll show you the charts. The best stock has been taken off. So even if you wanted to buy, you're paying double the interest rate and you can't buy anything really good. That's the irony of life, okay? It is what it is. Guys, you got to laugh at this stuff because don't take life too seriously. Remember, no one gets out alive. No one gets out alive. 12-month rolling average. Australia went back by 5.3% as a holistic national market for residential property. Regionals went back 0.1%. And combined major capital cities, so Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, all the major capital cities, negative 6.3. Melbourne, 8.1 negative, Sydney, 12.1, Brisbane, 1.1. Now, does that mean that every single property in Sydney went negative 12.1? No, it doesn't. It's if you add up all the suburbs together and you look at the median price, which is very misleading, guys. It's very misleading. I'm going to unpack this topic even further in this presentation. In terms of major capital cities, definitely the lowest point was December, guys. Okay? We've bounced from the bottom. We're going up now. So for those of you who want to time the market, do your thing. I don't believe in timing of the market. I believe time in the market. I buy property whenever I can, and I stick to the fundamentals. And if I get it cheaper, bonus. If I overpay, well, so be it. If I pay at market value, there it is. Because I know in 10 years' time, it won't make any difference. It won't make any difference, guys. If you're getting 10% cheaper, more expensive, it's irrelevant. It's what you secure that makes a difference. It's like going to the gym. There's no point going once a month when the weather's 23 and you're feeling perfect, okay, and you're going to smash out 6 hours in the gym. The people that get real results, and I'm a powerlifter, I'm not a bodybuilder, so I lift very heavy, weights for no apparent reason, but I do. I go 5 days, 6 days a week consistently, whether it's pissing down raining, whether it's hot, whether I feel sick, whether I feel okay, whether I've got days that are fantastic, days that are average. 50% of success is just turning up. 50% of success is turning up and just going through the motion. And some days I break my personal records. Some days I barely can get through the workout. I feel crap. I'm sitting there taking my intra workout, C4 and everything else that I'm taking to make sure I get the energy, and I feel like crap, but I still do it because that's what a champion does. That's what sophisticated investors do. They consistently implement a system. Speculators and gamblers want to get in right at the bottom and think they're going to get a magic property with $300,000 in equity. Well, if you can repeat that every time, if you can pick the market every time it goes down, you should already be a multimillionaire. Don't switch off the YouTube channel. You don't even need my information. You should already be on a yacht somewhere with, promo girls going to south of France. You don't need me because you can pick the bottom of the market, right? It's fantastic. Good luck with that. Now, in terms of percentiles, and this is to do with capital cities, this is the actual hedonic dwelling index 3 months to December. You can see that the most expensive properties in Melbourne have gone back by 3.2%, 2.8% for the mid-range properties, and the cheapest 2.1%. And I'll unpack this further because it's very misleading what's happening in Melbourne right now. And I'll show you specific suburbs because if you understand this concept, it will save you a lot of time and headaches when you're doing due diligence and analysis. Where are we in the property cycle? Well, really, the market is cyclical, it goes up and down. There's an emotional overshoot of the market and then there's a reactional low. In Victoria, we're down 9.3%. Same in Melbourne in terms of capital growth potential. Regional, half of that because the regional cycle is 3 to 5 years behind the major capital city cycle. So there's a deferred kind of an effect that's happening. In Melbourne, December dwellings have declined 1.2% for December in terms of the median price. So that's the median price comparison in December 2022 versus December 2021. Obviously now we're in 2023, but we're always looking back at data. Remember, it takes about a month to collect all this data. So we haven't got the the January numbers yet. We're looking at December still. For the quarter, 2.9%. And for the year to December, 8.1%. So this is the nature of the cycle. You can see there 2017, 18, 19, and we're just going through the motions. There's nothing new to see here, guys. It is what it is. Goes up and down, up and down. That's all it does. In terms of the median price fluctuation. Now, the median price doesn't represent the true market value of all properties in every suburb. Sales and listings are the key. If you understand this concept, which I want to really unpack in this presentation, in the context of property cycles, you're going to get ahead, okay? Now, you're going to see a lot of articles when we're down at the bottom of the market, things like the exclusive Melbourne suburbs where houses fell the most, and people say Toorak, negative 17.1, South Yarra, 15.4, Hawthorn, 15%, Flemington, 13.2 negative. This is, by the way, from December. So from January, so it's data from December to December for 12 months, right? Caulfield and then Carnegie, Port Melbourne, 8.8. Now remember, people see Toorak and they go, yeah, you bastards, you've lost 17%. And you think some people actually have this idea that there's this couple in Toorak in Hopetown Street in a $6 million mansion and the husband's screaming at the wife because the house is now worth, that sounds ridiculous, it's now worth 4.5, we've lost 17%, and they've got this fight. That doesn't happen, okay? It doesn't happen. That couple is super, super happy, okay? The house is paid off. First of all, why is it down 17%? It's the middle price. Median is just the middle property in the market. So if there's 11 sold, it's number 6 compared to the same time last year. What the media doesn't tell you is the volume of listings in Toorak is 40% lower this time than it was last year and the year before. So what the rich people do with paid off houses is they take their properties off the market. And because they take that off the market, which is usually the most expensive ones, the median price shifts to the left, therefore goes down in value. So it's not that the property is worth 4.5, it used to be worth 6. It's actually still worth 6 because they decide when to sell because there's no mortgage against the property. See, the difference between people in Toorak and Point Cook is in Point Cook, they've leveraged themselves 90%. The water level's up here, right? And then they go to Harvey Norman, get the interest-free furniture. So the water level's up, right? It's like this. Now, what happens is they lose their job or interest rates double and the water level kills them, right? And so they have to sell. They haven't got a choice to sell. They have to sell. The people in Toorak and Brighton, they choose when to sell, and they choose not to sell at the bottom of the cycle. That's why these suburbs, the most expensive and best suburbs, have the lowest growth. And in fact, they go negative during the bottom of the cycle, which is really counterintuitive. Now, if you want to know what the best suburbs in Melbourne and Sydney are, they're actually the ones that have gone backwards the most, not because they've devalued and there's bargains, because there is no bargains in Toorak and Brighton right now. I know because I'm looking every day, there's no bargains. There's not even good houses on the market at the moment. The best ones have been taken off the market. The reason you go there is because these people have the option and the freedom to take those properties off the market, and they decide when to sell. So they just say, well, they'll just sell in 3 years' time when the market resets itself, and that's the difference. If you understand the distinction, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money. And this is why I do this YouTube channel, to teach you guys not to make the mistakes that everyone makes. At the same time, they say this is the highest, the biggest rises, Gisborne, Alphington, and you got all these suburbs, Patterson Lakes. Patterson Lakes is not a good suburb. It hasn't gone up by 19%. The median price has gone up by 19%. So there's more properties selling in Patterson Lakes at the higher end. That's all it is. So remember, the median price is not a representation of the devaluing or appreciation of every property in the suburb. It's simply the relationship between the middle properties sold in one market versus another. And during the bottom of the cycle, when people take properties off the market in specific suburbs, the median price goes left, diminishes in value. In Patterson Lakes, the best houses are on the market right now. They're selling houses, therefore it went up. It doesn't mean they've gone up in value. It's just that the middle property is more expensive this year or last year by 19% compared to the same period of time before then. That's what it means. Okay? And this is so, guys, if you don't get this as an investor, this one fundamental thing, you're destined to almost fail in property investing. Like, this is one-on-one core fundamentals of investing. So once again, I know I'm talking about this a lot, but this is so fundamental, okay? Because once you get this, when you read these articles, Sunshine went up by 30%. Sunshine doesn't go up by 30%. The median price went up by 30%. Each house went up by 5%. Or when you say, Canterbury lost 20%. No, it hasn't. It's just that there's no one selling anything at the moment. So this is the median price. This is random regression analysis. And you've got this parabolic curve. And you've got the median prices, which is the majority of the stock that gets sold in every suburb. So if you map out every suburb in terms of the cheapest to more expensive, you get this highest concentration, because every suburb has a very kind of generic look about them, right? They're either middle-class suburbs or expensive suburbs or lower-end suburbs. What happens in times of economic hardship, the number of buyers at the higher prices are reduced and the volume of stock gets reduced, and the median price goes to the left, which means it goes backwards as a percentage. I can't explain this any more clearer. Email me if you don't get this bit, because it's so important to understand. So when we're talking about in terms of changes in sales volume 12 months to December 22, you can see there, this is the reduction of volume on the market to sell. Australia has 17% less sold available for sale compared to the same time last year. So there's 17% less volume on the market. Combined regional, 17.8, and major capitals, 16.5. That's a huge amount. Remember, and this is combined capitals. If you extrapolate that further into Melbourne, you're going to get even more. And in specific suburbs like Toorak, Brighton, Hawthorn, Kew, 40% less stock on the market this year compared to last year. The other thing you look for is days on the market, how long it takes to sell a property once it's there. Now, once again, I'm looking at the market right now. I'm not excited by anything that I'm seeing in Melbourne. We're at the bottom of the cycle. Interest rates have doubled in the last 2 years. And there's average stock. Average townhouses, average houses. Nothing special, nothing in Port Melbourne, Albert Park, Middle Park. There's nothing exciting. There's no trophy home that I look at and go, oh shit, that's amazing. I can't believe that's on the market. Nothing. Zero. Is it ironic? Nothing on the market. There's good stuff on the market, but not phenomenal stuff on the market. Because those people that have phenomenal stuff, they're paid off and they choose not to sell. That's the reality. Same with cars at the moment, by the way. And this is like where people ask me, the most redundant question you can ask is what's happening in the Melbourne property market? It's like saying, what are cars doing? Okay, are you talking about cars for $2,000? Are you talking about McLaren F1s for $1 million? Are you talking about exotic cars? Are you talking about coupes, SUVs? Are you talking about Camrys? Like new cars, old cars, collectible cars? What are cars doing? They're doing good. I don't know. Pick something. That's why people say, what's Melbourne doing? There's no Melbourne market, guys. There's 8 distinctive markets, 400 plus suburbs. Forget about this word Melbourne market, okay? It's like saying what are cars doing. I don't know what they're doing. If you ask me, what are M3 BMWs doing right now, brand new models, then that's a question, right? Or what's the GTR doing? Or Nissan Godzillas, what are they doing? Or imports from Japan, what are they doing? Or Nissan Patrols, what are they doing? Well, they're selling secondhand, they're selling nearly higher than new, and there's a 6-month waiting period because there's a shortage. That's a good value question, But this thing about what are cars doing, it's like saying, what's Melbourne doing? Melbourne is St Albans and Toorak, guys. It's 100 million. There's a house actually now listing for 100 million in Toorak, and 800,000. There's no correlation between these two suburbs. Forget about this word Melbourne. It doesn't exist. As an investment option, you can't invest in the index of Melbourne. You can invest in a suburb in a specific property, And within each property, even if you ask me what's Hampton doing, well, you're talking about apartments, townhouses, detached houses, you're talking about brand new, you're talking about renovated, you're talking about main roads, inner streets, school zones. Remember, the more level of awareness you cultivate, the better value questions you're going to be asking. So days on the market, definitely in Melbourne, December 22, it took 30 days to sell an average house compared to 23 days before then. So the market has slowed down, definitely. And that's because there isn't good stock on the market and people have more options. That's what it is. In terms of listings are record low. You can see there, because people, especially at the top end, people are not getting the prices that they are happy to sell. No one's going to sell a $5 million house for $2 million, okay? So unless they're going bankrupt and getting sued and liquidated, even then, it's the bank's obligation to extract as much money from the transaction as possible. They'll just sell it at an arm's length transaction. So there is no bargains at the bottom. People think that there's all these bargains at the bottom. There are bargains from where developers can buy development sites that are repossessed by banks, but those deals happen on the golf course or very exclusive settings that you will never be able to tap into. So yeah, those happen. And I know developers that have bought more stock during the GFC directly from banks, from other developers that have gone bust, paying cents in the dollar. Absolutely, they happen, but you never get access to them unless you're a developer, multi-millionaire. If you are, you don't need to watch this YouTube channel right now. So that's the reality. Listings are 27% lower this year compared to last year. When I say this year, I'm talking about December data, 22 versus 21. 27, nearly 30%, and some suburbs are 40% lower. So instead of 100 houses, there's 70 houses. Instead of 10, there's 7, okay? Or 6. So the volume of listings has gone down because people can't get the prices they're comfortable with selling. Because remember, when people sell one house, they have to buy another house to live in. And if they can't afford the leap is not worth the transaction, is justifiable. They'll just sit back and wait for a time. Most of this stuff is not driven by speculation to make money. Most of the market is driven by necessity to live in the property. That's why it's so tricky, guys, because as investors, we've kind of chosen a bizarre vehicle to make money. We've chosen a vehicle that isn't deemed an asset under the Financial Services Act, like a bond or an annuity or a share or derivative. It's a house made to house people, and we're trying to kind of extract fundamental information about how to identify the best suburbs and properties. And this is why I'm teaching all this stuff on my YouTube channel, and I'm just sharing it openly with no agenda. I'm not a developer pushing a suburb. So I have no vested interest in making a suburb look good or bad. I'm just telling you how it is. In terms of auction clearance rates, you can see that the market only operates 10 months of the year. So December and January, there's virtually no market. Like last week of November, everyone's in La La Land in Christmas mode. And we kind of come back in the second week of January. So there's a month, nearly 2 months where the market doesn't really operate. You can see the auction clear rates at the moment. You're looking at kind of 60, 70%, which is average. Hot market, 90%, 95. Depressed market, 50%, 45. So we're kind of average, nothing special market. But also, because of the volume of listings is down, that impacts also the volume that gets sold. The rental market, let me tell you, and this is such a fundamental thing. For an investor, not an owner-occupier, for an investor, interest rates are irrelevant as long as your rentals can cover the property expenses and make it cash flow positive. And this is why most educated, and I mean the word educated investors, are not worried about interest rates because the rental market's going nuts at the moment. The increases are the highest that I've ever seen in my whole 25 years in the industry. And I've spoken to agents that have been doing this for 40 years. They've never seen anything like it. And the interest rates increases are getting completely nullified by the increases in rentals. We've seen rentals, 2-bedders in St Kilda go from $450 to $600 a week. We've seen 3-bedroom townhouses go from $650 to $800 a week. I've seen $150, $200 increases in 12 months on rentals. It is unprecedented what's happening. It's a combination of scarcity of stock and inflation as well. Huge rental crisis. You're going to see a lot of media coverage of this, doom and gloom. You're going to see couples, young kids, like this lady here, to surf on the couch for 6 months. She couldn't get into the market at all. We're having illegal rental auctions in Melbourne, where whoever pays the highest amount for the rental gets the property, which is illegal, but it's happening. I won't mention names. I know nothing. If you watch Hogan's Heroes, I'm like Gehring. The general. I know nothing. But it's happening. So people are saying, okay, 3-bedroom townhouse, Hampton, $850 anyone, $875, $900, $925, $925 done. Completely illegal. It's happening. Okay, and people getting prosecuted. By the way, there's a lot of stress in the mortgage market and in the rental market. So Australia, in terms of annual rent growth, has re-accelerated. The annual growth in Australia was 10.2 in the 12 months of December, and the new record high has been now established at around 14 to 16%, guys. So you're getting increases in interest rates to 4.5. You're getting rental increases by 16%. So who cares about the interest rate? Now, if you're living in the property, it's different because then you're paying the mortgage. But I'm saying as an investor, you've got a tenant in the property. So Australia average increases in rents 10.2. Now remember, inflation's tracking at around 8%. Combined regionals, 8.4. So regionals are killing it as well. People think the regionals are not killing it. I mean, in Melbourne, Bendigo and Shepparton, the rents are going through the roof. I'm speaking to agents there and buyers advocates. Best regional town to invest in my opinion, in Australia is Bendigo, by the way. Capital cities, 10.9%. So it's a killer. Melbourne, 9.6% on average. So look at this. This is the actual change in rental rates national, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22. Look at that. Bang. 10%. So if you bought a property back in, when I was telling you to buy in 2019, not now, when I was telling you to buy, you'd be laughing all the way to the bank. That's right, those engineering people that have sat on the sidelines, you've missed the boat for the rental cycle, and then you're going to miss the boat for the bottom of the cycle. But that's all right. Keep paying the 60 grand in tax. We love you for it because you're building roads, you're contributing to the tunnel, more policing in Alice Springs. It's all good. It's all good. December, you can see there, this is rental yields again from major capital cities. And there's a huge social issue where people are really priced out of the rental market. There's a division of wealth that's happening in Australia, unfortunately. People cannot save the 20% deposit or 10% deposit. Any government incentive to have any kind of program for first-home buyers to get into the market accelerates and puts pressure on prices, so it backfires. It does the exact opposite of what it's intended to do, which we've seen with the Liberal and Labor government do really well. And you've got these people lining up. I was talking to Cameron Fisher from Changing Places Real Estate, who's my business partner. Just yesterday, we went for lunch, grabbed a burger at Fitzroy Street. He was telling me he did an opening in St Kilda for a 2-bedroom apartment in one of the best parts of St Kilda, and he had over 100 applications, which is insane. Normally you get 5, 10 applications. 100 written applications for one property. It's insanity. Great for the landlord because you get to choose and pick whoever you want, but really bad if you're a single mum with 2 kids trying to get into the market. Because remember, what we're doing as landlords is we're providing a solution for a lot of people who cannot get into the market, choose not to get into the market, or can't get the funding for whatever reason, or it could be the timing issue. They might be in Melbourne for 2 or 3 years on the contract and then moving back somewhere and they don't want to commit to a mortgage. We're providing a solution for those people. And so the government should do nothing but help us to make it easier for us to provide those solutions, because the government doesn't want to be in the business of providing public housing. They don't do it very well, you know. Vacancy rates at the same time are record low. So we're seeing 2 things happening. We're seeing rentals go up by 10% and vacancy rates, look at this December, the average vacancy rate for an average suburb should be 4.5%, which is like an average volume of properties available. So, you know, you're going to Balmoral, you see townhouses, there should be 30, 40 townhouses, 50 houses, you know, maybe 10 apartments. There's not a lot of apartments in Balmoral. What we're seeing is record low vacancies where they're now 1%, 1.2, and suburbs in Melbourne, in the Bayside and the eastern suburbs, have gone down to 0.5, 0.7. There's virtually nothing available. We're seeing people that are genuine workers, employees with solid jobs, living in caravan parks in tents because they can't break back into the rental market. So this is the thing. You might be a tenant in a rental property for 20 years and then suddenly the owner dies and the kids want the money, right? So the estate has to sell the property empty, and then you're getting displaced after 20 years. So there's no security long-term in being a tenant. And it's an unfortunate situation. You know, it is what it is. And so what's happening is a lot of these people are doing it really tough. And I'm seeing people, literally I've read articles about Melbourne people who are working full-time jobs, staying in caravan parks in tents and caravans because they got evicted from the property, whatever reason, whether a developer came in and is redeveloping the estate, sold the property, divorce. There's hundreds of reasons why properties sell, and they can't break back into the market. Insanity. It's crazy. And the government's doing nothing about it. They just keep talking about this, oh, we've got to provide, you know, we've got to provide housing that's affordable. No, you've got to make it more attractive for the average Australian to buy an investment property. Forget about, you're never going to be able to provide cheap housing. Where? In the middle of nowhere? You know, 150 k's from the city in the cow paddocks. Who wants to live there? People want to live in St Kilda and Elwood. How do you get there more rentals in that area? Well, it's easy. More tax incentives for investors, everyday investors, police officers, teachers, garbage collectors. Educate them that they can own investment property, subsidise it with tax, and then the market will be flooded with rentals, and the rentals will go down. But what Labor does, and the left wing, is no, you're the evil landlords, you're getting greedy. Let's make it harder for you to buy properties. No, well, you're going to have the opposite effect. It doesn't affect anything that I'm doing. I'm saying you're going to make it even harder to get properties, and properties will go up in value, and rentals will keep going up in value. So in terms of change of dwellings, yes, definitely Melbourne has gone backwards. We are in a property cycle at the bottom and we're about to reset, maybe in September. Is it something new? No, it's been happening since the beginning of you know, since 1881, we had a flat period, but then after the Second World War, when we had the immigration flood, really the market has been very cyclical on the back of population growth. And we're about to have 300,000 migrants come to Australia. So this whole thing will just keep repeating itself over and over and over. In terms of the dwellings, where we are, so you can see there for Melbourne is the black line, negative 8.3%. This is dwellings on track since December. So this is 31st of December 22. And this is going back to December 21, so 12 months. So Melbourne definitely 8.3 and Sydney 12.8 because it came from a much higher price point. So really in terms of a ratio, it's kind of lost the same amount. As a percentage, it's slightly higher because it came from a higher growth background at all, in the first place. Inflation, let's talk about inflation. This is the biggest thing that's in the media. This is the reason why the RBA is increasing rates, because inflation is out of control. What is inflation? Inflation is simply, traditionally, a basket of goods and services that an average Australian uses and consumes that represents the daily kind of operation, of existence. So, food, you have bread, milk, butter, jam, newspapers, insurance, cars, housing, all that kind of stuff, right? We've seen a massive spike in inflation, which has created the environment where the RBA had to increase interest rates at an unprecedented level because inflation went up to 8%. So what they have to do is get it back to the targeted inflation range, which is around 2.7, 3%, 3.25, right? And look at that. I mean, it just went through the roof. Why did it go up so much? It was a perfect storm of things that happened. The Ukrainian invasion by Russia. It was also the COVID-19 disruption of supply chains, fuel, petrol, energy, getting goods into Australia. All these things created this perfect storm of inflation getting out of control. I think the worst is behind us. I'm going to show you why. I think there'll be more interest rate increases this year. And then eventually, by kind of September, October, November, there'll be a reset in the market as the migrants come in, start renting and buying properties. As a percentage of where the biggest increases are, you can see that food and alcoholic beverages 9.2. And food has a huge petrol bill. To get toilet paper or letters into Woolies, they're on trucks and they're bulky items. They need a lot of fuel to get them from A to B. I mean, to get lettuce from the farm to the shelf of a Coles shop, 70% of the value is in petrol and oil. So they're completely interdependently linked to the petrol and oil prices that are set by international markets. So this disruption in energy prices has created escalating inflation in Australia. Definitely. Housing as well, 10.7, which I'll unpack in a second, and also furnishing household equipment and services. And also things like transport, which is cars, things like that you need to get around, and also recreational and culture. So in terms of where we're seeing the biggest spike, it's definitely recreation and culture, but also household furnishings and construction costs, labour costs, all these other things that are playing a part. It's very interesting because the fundamentals haven't changed, it's just the background has changed slightly. But you've got to be aware of all these factors, and you've got to be aware of, and I'm only showing this, I'm not here to teach you economics, I'm not a professor of economics, I'm just showing you the vital information you've got to be aware of as a discerning investor so you can make educated decisions on where to invest and which areas to avoid. Housing definitely has gone through the roof. Construction costs have gone through the roof completely. If you look at the average cost of construction, and apart from timber that's gone up by 60, 70% in 12 months, and still, even things like glass and mirrors, 14.1. Plumbing products, 11.5. Beams and reinforced steel, 42.1. Electrical, 13.9. Timber and joinery, 20%. So all these things are having an impact, a flow-on effect on the economy. Now, the good news is that majority of the shipping costs associated with getting all these goods into Australia from China, which is our biggest importer of goods for building and construction industry, has passed its peak. You can see there, the peak for a container was 10,966, and now containers have gone down to 2,238 in January 23. So this cost that we've had here, which has created the inflationary pressure in Australia, has now diminished completely. So the bottlenecks that were created in the supply chain to get cars and equipment, white goods and building materials from China to Australia has eased and has diminished by 75% now. And this is across all different, this is in North America, China, North America, East Coast, North Europe, all these different trade routes. You can see the peak has well and truly is behind us, which means inflation is eventually going to go down to acceptable levels, which means the RBA eventually will cut rates as a sign of confidence in the economy. So this is all cyclical, guys. It will pass. This too shall pass. Remember, this is not the end of the world. That's what the RBA did. They went bang. Now, because of that, they put the handbrake on too fast. They've stalled the economy. It's like going 100 k's an hour in a 911 turbo and put the handbrake on. What do you think is going to happen? Not a good thing. So the RBA lifted the cash rate to 3.1 in December. You can see there, unprecedented. Now, I was doing lending at 7.25 and 6.95 when I was working for Medfin and NAB, so I'm used to these numbers. There's nothing new. But I'm old. I'm 46, nearly 50. You know the funny thing about 50? I'm 46 now. I remember when I was 20, I used to look at people that are 45 and think, shit, they're old. And now that I'm 45, I just think, shit, I'm old. Nothing's changed. A lot of people go, oh, 40 is the new 20. No, it's not. 45 is freaking old, okay? It's old. Anyway, don't email me. There's all these old people. Well, I'm 60, and I look better than you. I know. I'm Polish. I've drank a lot over the years. Lots of drinking and smoking. Back in the day. Interest rates have gone down, and we're really spoiled here, by the way. Like, this is ridiculous. If you can make a decision in 2019 and 20 to buy a property because you're concerned, well, when are you going to get into the market? That was the bottom. And I don't think the bottom will be down here for a long, long time, at least 10 years. So it is what it is. We've gone up to 3.1. Variable rates will be at 5 because you add another 1.52% margin on top of that. Is this important information? It's important for households that are paying their mortgage. But as an investor, if you're getting record high increases in rents, do you really care? As long as the property is cash flow positive per week, it doesn't make a difference what you're paying. It doesn't make a difference if you're paying 20% interest per year on your loan. As long as you're getting 30% rental, you're 10% cash flow positive. So it's in the context. You always got to look at the context of things, guys. Don't look at the thing by itself, okay? So this is what a lot of people do. Oh, interest rates are going up. I want to sit back. Well, you sit back indefinitely. Come back when you're 70 and then buy one property and then stuff up. No, don't sit back, okay? Get educated. What I'm saying is, if interest rates are going up, what's the context of suburbs where rents are going up higher than the cost of interest going up? Because then you buy those suburbs, you're cash flow positive. See, most of the townhouses that I'm sourcing for my clients are cash flow positive from day one, net of all expenses. So the rent, just to be clear, the rent from the tenant covers all expenses and puts money in your pocket. So who cares about interest rates? You would only care if you had a house and you have a mortgage and there's no tenants. Yeah, because then you've got to pay the whole thing. And that's what the media keeps talking about. They don't talk about landlords. They talk about people that actually own these properties. But definitely, yeah, we were low, it's gone up. So you can have, this is the discounted variable rate, then you've got the official cash rate. It is what it is. Is it important to know? Yes. Is it important to know in the implications to an investor? Absolutely. That's why if you're concerned about money and making sure that you can afford to hold on to the property, target suburbs in Melbourne, which has had 20% increases in rentals in the last 12 months. Now, if you don't know how to find those suburbs, that's a good question. How do you find those suburbs? So now you're thinking. That's the key. What does it mean for the average punter out there with a mortgage? Oh, look, that mortgages have gone up through the roof. Like, for example, in April 22, let's say you got a $1 million mortgage. You're paying $6,288 repayments in January. The change is $1,800. That could wipe out your whole discretionary spending. This could be a lot of people, seriously, per month, couples, only have $2,500, $3,000 to spend on everything else apart from their mortgage. So an increase by $1,825 just on the mortgage could wipe out completely everything. I mean, I'm talking no going out, just paying for petrol and food and nothing else. No clothing, no entertainment, nothing. And a lot of people that have overcommitted are doing it tough now. Absolutely agree. And, the government should step in and look after them. Absolutely. It is what it is. Remember, interest rates, this is from a newspaper back in the 90s. Look at this for variable rates. You think you want to be stressed? 16% variable rate. That's a variable rate. Fixing rate, 3 years, 15.25, 5 years, 15.25. That's from ANZ, by the way. But you know what? Did people buy investment properties in the 90s? Of course they did. How did they buy them? They made sure that if they're getting a rate fixed at 15%, the rental is covering all the repayments. That's what they did. So do you care if it's cash flow positive by $200 a week, whatever you're paying? It's irrelevant. It's what happens net in the transaction at the end. That's the key. So definitely in terms of mortgage rates, variable rate, 4.79, fixed rates, 5.1, 5.48. The market's actually telling you that the trend is that interest rates are going to go up because the fixed rates are lower than the variable rates, which is always a really good indicator of where the market thinks things are heading. Now, let me share something with you. The market doesn't always get things right, especially economists. Land is very interesting though. House and land, I've been really watching house and land packages and the releases. So this is not so much properties sold through agents. This is developers selling stock from themselves to the market. This is stage-controlled, price-controlled releases. And in Melbourne, even though we had in 2019 record low volume of sales in new house and land estates, the red line represents prices. So the unbelievable thing about house and land packages is while they don't go up that much in capital growth, they are manipulated not to devalue. I'm talking about primary market here, not secondary. So this is not stuff on realestate.com. This is from developers. So even though the volume went down, they never drop prices. That's why land will never be cheap in Melbourne. The average block of land in Melbourne will keep going sideways or up, even during the bottom of the cycle. Yes, there will be a flood of properties in Point Cook, Truganina, Tarneit, Pakenham and Berwick because there'll be insolvencies and bankruptcies, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about developers. Developers like Landlease, Peet, Australand will never devalue land in Australia. So if you think of getting a bargain, you're going to have to buy it on the secondary market, not the primary market. The primary market will dive, prices will remain the same. Super interesting as a concept. See, I don't know any other asset where the volume of sales drops by 50%, but the prices stay the same. Like land is the only thing that I know of. That's why there's so much stability in the property market in Australia. Because in a weird way, there's almost like a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a system that was designed not to fail by developers, land creators, valuers, and the banks, because 60% of all our wealth is locked up in real estate, residential real estate to be more specific. Therefore, they can't allow it to fail. If it fails, then it's all over. So it's been propped up in different ways. And this is, as a result, this is the phenomenon. 2019 in March, land sales plummeted in terms of volume of sales from their peak. And look what happened to prices. I mean, you show me a bond annuity, a share, anything in any other context of investing where the volume that you've been selling has been reduced by 60% and the prices stay the same. It just doesn't happen, right? It breaks the realm of economics 101 of supply and demand concept. But it's the reality. This is the reality because it's manipulated by developers. They won't allow price depreciation on brand new land. And that's the basis of why land and property and second-hand property is so stable in Australia, even during the worst times. In terms of rents going up, you can see that this is a heat map. And the best area, once again, is the southeast corridor, where you have the highest concentration of best schools, highest incomes, and highest increases in rents. And also the Bayside. Migration was halted during COVID-19. We were kind of in lockdown, and that created an interesting scenario. Australia is an amazing country. It's a multicultural haven. I mean, I'm from Poland originally. In Poland, there's 99% of people who are Polish. Right? In Australia, I mean, I've got friends from every nationality, background imaginable. it'd be impossible to meet these people in Poland. It's a phenomenal country, and it's built on the back of migration. And pardon me, you can see there we had a very huge reduction, and then now it's going back up to 300,000. So once these migrants come in, and these are skilled migrants, a lot of them coming from India, China, into IT, medical professions, biotech. So we're getting a lot of skilled migrants. We can pretty much choose and pick in Australia. We're very lucky as a country where we want the labour to come from and what skill set, what level of education. These people are high income earners. They come in straight into jobs, pay taxes, and then they rent and save money to buy their house. This is the backbone for the capital growth that has been occurring in the Australian property market since the beginning of the since 1950s when the migration came over from Europe. So where are we in the property cycle? Remember, we have the peak of the market, decline, bottom, and the growth of the market. Melbourne's right here. How do I know? Just because I know. I sit at home and I make up all this stuff. No, because of Herring Todd White valuers. And so you'll see a lot of articles coming out during different parts of the cycle, and it's so repetitive, it's ridiculous. These are articles from the last property cycle, right? Housing crash is accelerating. Rising interest rates could crush the housing market, and the millennials aren't mad about it. No, they're rejoicing it, but it's never going to happen because they can't borrow any money. Bank wants too many interest rate rises could crash the housing market. We hit the bottom of the market, nothing happens, of course. Surprise, surprise. And then eventually the market recovers. New study finds the housing affordability in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide worse than New York. Australians are giving up on the property dream. We can't get into the property market. Everyone's angry again, and the market booms. And then that's it, and just keeps going around in a circle. Here we are in Melbourne. This is the property clock from Herring Todd White Valuers, which is the biggest valuation company in Australia. And by the way, valuers don't sell anything. All they sell is data and information, and they have to make sure that their information is accurate because it's published every month openly to the public, so you can't manipulate or change it. And you can check very easily month by month where the market was. So Melbourne is here, starting to decline, going into the bottom and going up. That's it in terms of a concept. In terms of a lot of indicators, we've already passed the bottom of the market and we're going up and recovering. But guys, no one knows, and it's not important. Like, I think the bottom of the market was in December. We won't know for 6 months because it takes so long to collect data. People ask me, where are we in the market? Just so you understand, the most accurate data we have is 6 months old because remember, a lot of properties have a 90-day settlement. So when they're sold in January, and a lot of properties are sold off market, by the way, with no one knowing what the price is, until they're captured by the State Revenue Office, which could be in end of March, they're not recorded as a sale in terms of data capturing information. So really, what we really, and some settlements are 4 months, like there's extensions on settlements. That's why I always say the best data is 6 months old. The best data is we're always looking back where we were, going, oh, that's where we were. When you're in the actual market like now, you've got a gut feeling based on different indicators. And what I'm telling you, I think the bottom was in December, and we've passed the bottom, we're going to go up. If we have no more increases, substantial increases in interest rates, we can have one. If we have 2 or 3, there's going to be a W pattern, and then we're going to go back up. And the recovery will happen really. So the bottom could be even lower than the last bottom. Okay, it could be a W pattern. And we're going to go back up, resetting ourselves in September, October, November. Different states have different property clocks. And within each property clock, within each major capital city, you have inner suburbs, metropolitan, and regionals, and they're very different from each other as well. So don't assume there's one property clock governing the whole country or even one property clock governing each state. It's not that simple. I wish it was that simple, guys. I wish this whole game was super simple, but it's very complex and counterintuitive, and this is why very few people make money out of property. Most people are negative, and they see the glass being not full enough. I always see it as half full, and I drink the water as much as I can. That's all you got to do. Take advantage of the prevailing circumstances. Remember, most people are reactive. They get blown around like a paper bag by the wind, which is the media. They blow you around like the paper bag. People like myself, we respond. The 5%. I'm untouchable when it comes to media. I know who the media is. They don't know any assets. They're broke. They're art students from Monash. They don't know anything. So, I know who to listen to. I know who the experts are in the industry. And remember, you got to be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. So yeah, definitely take advantage of the market. Now is a good time to get discounts if you can negotiate. Personally, I look at the market right now. There's nothing special available. Serviceability has diminished for the average person by 150,000. Interest rates have doubled. The best time was 2 years ago. But the best time is whenever you can. This is the message. I know I sound like a broken record, guys, but I want you to succeed, because by your success, we all succeed, right? And I come from a place of abundance. I never feel like I'm creating my own competition, because I can only do, how many properties can I buy in a year? 2, 3? There's 10,000 in the market every week. So I'm happy to share this information with you openly with no agenda. There's no vested interest. I'm not trying to make an area look better than it is or make the market look better than it is. I'm just telling you it's extremely complex, and you got to understand certain fundamentals about how it functions. Dollar cost averaging is the key. 25 years of observing successful property investors, all they do is they buy the right properties in the right area, irrespective of the price and the timing. And as you buy it at different points in time, you're averaging, dollar cost averaging. It's a very old concept. Look it up on Google. Your average purchase price outperforms the entire market. That's what dollar cost averaging means. Sometimes you underpay, sometimes you overpay. But as long as you're buying the right suburb, the right property with the right rental potential, depreciation, the right builder, you can't go wrong. In the right street, in the right school zone, etc., etc. Stick to the fundamentals. Stick to the fundamentals, guys. Where are the best properties right now to invest in 23? I think the best properties are Blackrock, Mentone, Frankston South, Mordialloc, Albert Park, Karen, Parkdale, Balmoral, Frankston, Seaford, Security, Sandringham, Aspendale. They've boomed last year. They've done 30%, 20% in some instances. They're still going super strong. I wouldn't go to the eastern suburbs at all at the moment. There's different factors driving that market. The Bayside is going nuts. People want to be close to the beach, in townhouses, in the best school zones. Port Melbourne down to Aspendale. And then from Aspendale, Edithvale, Chelsea, Bonbeach. I wouldn't do Carrum. I don't like Seaford at all. Even though I've got Seaford here, it's way down on the list, and it will do well. I'm just saying fundamentally, Seaford I just don't believe in at all. And even Carrum has its moments. But yeah, definitely Bonbeach, is fantastic. Especially Aspendale, Mordialloc, the whole hub. Mentone, Balmoral, of course, but they're very expensive now. Look, the better quality suburb you can target, the more money you'll make. 80% of the growth is a suburb, 20% is the dwelling. Here's some examples of developments that I've sourced that are available right now. If you wanted someone to help you build your portfolio, guys, that's all I do all day. You can call me up. We can have a Zoom session, which I'll talk to you about at the end. And this is the kind of products that I'm sourcing. So if you're too busy as a professional person running their own business, or you're a dentist, doctor, or plumber, electrician, and you're just too busy Monday to Friday working your business, and weekends you want to relax, spend with your family, you can come to me and I source these properties based on the fundamentals that I teach. I'm not a developer. I'm not selling my own stock. I've never developed anything in my life. I'm a real estate agent and sourcing specialist. That's all I do. These are some examples that I have right now. I'm a big fan of Carnegie right now. Carnegie is going through a massive transformation, going from a super trendy suburb, even trendier. I would say Carnegie eventually will be the same as Elwood in terms of like trend and prestige. Not there yet, but it will. Carnegie, three bedroom, 3 bathroom, 2-car garage, 1.2 million. This is in Tremere Avenue. So really good townhouse, great level of fixtures and fittings, targeting the young urban professional couples, great parks, great shopping, great coffee, great schools. Carnegie is very close to, suburbs like Brighton. You've got Southland Shopping Centre, you've got Chatston Shopping Centre. You're kind of in between both shopping centres. It's all there. Ticks all the boxes. Carnegie is fantastic as a suburb. And you just can't go wrong. I mean, you can go wrong, but if you buy a 3-bedroom double lock-up garage property from a reputable builder, fantastic. This is a property that's completed now, and this is a great configuration. Double lock-up garage, bedroom downstairs with a bathroom, ensuite. So this could be a Zoom room, if you like, or the office that you work out of downstairs. So you've got that separation of your bedrooms and living area. Then you have on the first floor, open plan living, kitchen, island, bench top, toilet, laundry, living area, balcony, and then you have upstairs 2 bedrooms with 2 bathrooms, which are en suites as well with large showers. This is 177 square meters. Perfect size for a townhouse. They rent instantly, by the way. They're cash flow positive. Great investment. As long as you qualify for the loan, there's number 4's available, 1.2 million. If you like this property, email me when you see this YouTube video. If it's sold out, I've got other projects coming up. So just feel free to email me or call my mobile number. We can have a chat about what you want to do and what your objections are in terms of your goals. Chelsea. Fantastic suburb. This is on the beach side of the highway. As you know, Chelsea is cut in half by the train line. Very different capital growth on this side of the train line versus the train line here, where you can actually walk to the beach from your property. The difference in capital growth is literally like 20, 30% per year. So you're getting 10, 12% here, you're getting 5, 6% on the other side. Very different. So don't assume that Chelsea is one suburb, or Bond Beach or Aspendale. They're cut in half by a train line. You have very different capital growth happening and very different people living on the beach side of Aspendale versus the other side, okay? So even within suburbs, there's fragmentation demographically of people living in the same suburb. Great developer, great project. These is targeting the young couple with no kids or the single parent. They are 2-bedroom townhouses with a rooftop terrace with beach views, water views. So they're amazing. So there's no backyards here, but what you do have is a rooftop terrace. Now this will be a longer term settlement. We're talking 16-month build. So we're talking about mid to late next year for completion. So if you want to park some money or a deposit bond or a bank guarantee or 10% down and make some money on the way up, then definitely this is something to do. So 150 square meter build. Down on the ground floor, single car garage. You have entry, storage under the stairs, master bedroom with an ensuite. You've got a small, very small courtyard. I don't know if it's functional. I mean, you can open the door and you can have a cigarette, but you wouldn't have a party there. Plus your bedroom is kind of coming off that. Then you have open plan living, dining, kitchen, bedroom with an ensuite. You've got a small balcony there, and upstairs you've got a massive 5.9 by 5.5 metre rooftop terrace. You can put a spa up there, you can put furniture. Amazing property. Very difficult to build on the beach of the highway. It's all owner occupied, nothing comes up on the market, so it's one of those opportunities. They're all mirror images of each other. There's 2 available, 1,065,000. The others are not available or sold. This is one in Mornington, which is far from the city, but it's a great coastal town. It's a bit of a sea change destination for Melburnians. I go there with my wife probably once or twice a year. During COVID-19, these areas grew by 30, 40%, which is like Rye grew up by 48%. Everyone moved because they wanted to be in the coastal towns and they can work from home, which I don't blame people. So Mornington, just so you know, 10-year growth history, 8.44%. But look at the short term, 3 years growth, 47.81% and 44.7%. Stupid. That's unsustainable. That just happened because of COVID-19 and people moved to Mornington. The long-term growth would be 8.5% if I had to guess. Solid performer, not phenomenal. We're not talking about Elwood here or Brighton, but we're also talking about half price, you know, so you get what you pay for. This is Main Street, which is the main shopping precinct there. There's Coles here. So this is right next to the main drag. It's a really good development, great developer. We've done a lot of stuff with this developer over the years. 695 for 2-bedders, cash flow positive from day one. I mean, you just can't go wrong. Look at that. Look how pretty Mornington is. So this is the main street there. You can see all the shops. And this is just off the main drag there. So you can walk to Coles, do your shopping, come back to your townhouse. Fantastic beaches in Mornington. Look, you feel like you're away on the holidays, but you're actually, you know, an hour from Melbourne. Once again, this is targeting young professional couple with no children or the single parent or the single person. Single car garage with there's a toilet there, shower, you have bedroom downstairs, another bedroom, ensuite, open plan living, and just self-contained, 103 square meters. Perfect little 2-bedroom townhouse, great entry level into the property market. Long-term growth, 8.5, 8%. Will double every kind of 12, 15 years. Always be tenanted. Very difficult to start up with this one, guys. There's 4 available, five. One is reserved, so by the time this video comes out, there'll probably going to be 4. And look, this will sell out really quickly because it's so cheap, $6.95. If you are interested, just ring me or drop me an email. By the way, per week, that property is cash flow positive by $11 per week with depreciation. So this is from BMT Quantity Surveyors. So, it's an amazing opportunity. Bit of high end, Port Melbourne, really good location, Williamstown Road. This is a completed townhouse, number 3, which is this one here. It was originally kept by the developer, great location, very kind of upmarket property, targeting the young professional couple with a child, young professional people with no children that are working from home full-time. It could be a retired couple, very good configuration, good level of fixtures and fittings, great tiles, everything has really good dimensions for Port Melbourne. And Port Melbourne has a lot of small properties. I mean, it used to be a working class, suburb where the average house was probably 100 square meters. It was a single-fronted Victorian, 2 bedrooms, very small, dingy kind of properties. So anything like this with plenty of light, very modern design, is very much sought after by the high-income earner. So once again, great property. The beaches in Port Melbourne, fantastic. Great location, great coffee, great location to the city. You're 3 k's from the city here. So downstairs, you've got a courtyard. You've got this kind of open plan nook, I guess, which could be a study, powder room, laundry. Then you have open plan living, kitchen, island bench top, dining area and living area. And then you have level 2 bedrooms with a common ensuite. And then upstairs on level 3, the entire level is just the master bedroom, massive bedroom, ensuite, and the balcony. This property is $1.425 million, available to settle. It's 100% completed, never been lived in, so it's available now. Growth, 10 years average, 8.14. Short term, 3 years, 38%, 5 years, 28%. Look, Port Melbourne, it would double every 7 to 10 years without any problems. Some years you get 30% growth, some years you get 8% growth. Always been in the top 10 suburb in Melbourne, and will continue to be that. Very difficult to develop in, unless it's a warehouse being pulled down or some commercial property, which there are some at the back of Port Melbourne now, getting rezoned into residential. But generally speaking, the closer you get to the beach, virtually impossible to build anything. So in terms of the rental, it's $900 a week. That's what the others have rented for. And it's cash flow positive by $9 per week. So every client that I've placed into this project, they're cash flow positive by 10, 15, $20 a week, net of all expenses. So the 10's paying for everything, and you get a massive tax rebate as well. Hope you enjoyed that information. Now, a couple of things I want to go through with you, just resources and what's the next thing that you can do in order to get started in property investing. There are 4 types of property investors, guys, especially at the bottom of the market, and you're going to be placing yourself in one of these categories, whether you like it or not. Number 1 is the analytical compulsive information gatherer. They don't do anything. They look at the market, they watch it, they hope for this magic opportunity to go in, and it never occurs, and they just never buy anything. They get rich quick gambler, which I see these people, and I worry about them because they just want to buy everything now. The moment they learn this stuff, they're all in, which is also not a good strategy. You want to be conservative, you want to be proactive, but you want to have buffers in place, okay? The comfort zone investor will only buy in their own suburb, no matter what happens. No, I live in Balmoral, I'm buying in Balmoral, and that's it. Conrad can go to hell. Fair enough. And then you got the active, savvy, educated investor, which is the ones that I have that are buying 6, 7, 8, 9 properties now, building their property portfolio and very close to replacing their wealth and their income. Replacing their income and creating financial independence, I should say. So number 1 is we're back and doing live events now as well, which is great. So every 6 weeks, I'm running a live event called the Real Estate Investing Fast Track Weekend, where there's 55 seats available. We're doing one this weekend on the 4th and 5th. It's booked out. These are here in St Kilda in our office. I'm actually in my boardroom right now. There's 4 speakers, and we teach you how to basically build and structure a massive property portfolio from scratch. There's Stephen Molnar is the MC for the 2 days, and he's also an educator. Cameron Fisher, who's a valuer and the owner of Changing Places Real Estate, been in real estate for 40 years. Myself and Stephen McClutchy from Loans Australia. This is where people are going to get started, and we'll teach you how to get to the first 5 properties. And there's nothing more you need to know to get to the first 5 beyond these 2 days of information. So if you want to get started, this is it. This is the best way to get started in the property arena in Melbourne, in my opinion. Day 1 is the classroom environment. Day 2, we used to do bus trips, then we're doing virtual bus trips because it's more efficient. We can get through more property examples and more depth. So we're doing virtual bus tours on Sunday. If you're interested, just jump onto realestatefasttrack.com.au, register if you can, and you'll see the dates there available. And I hope to meet you in person at a future event. Tickets are $47, and you also get a hard copy of my best-selling book, which is Australian Real Estate Investing Made Simple. Now, this is like a manual for the 2 days as well. It pretty much unpacks 60% of the topics in this book. I mean, we haven't got depreciation specialists and lawyers, but we've got the finance and the sourcing is definitely covered, which is covered extensively in this book. Lunch is included as well. Money back guarantee. If you're unhappy at the end of 2 days, if you think it was a complete waste of your time, we'll give you the money back. You can keep the book and obviously keep the lunches and experience. And we're part as friends. Also, we had a big boot camp last year, which we recorded into a home study called the Property Portfolio Accelerator Summit 22. This was really for people that want to go to the next level. A lot of our clients now have 5, 10 properties, but they want to go to 15, 20. This was a 4-day boot camp, 28 hours of content, a lot of speakers. So Stephen McClutchy, obviously, as I mentioned before, for the Fast Track weekend. Then we had James Black, who's an accountant. We talked about trusts and buying properties in trust. We had Joel, who's a financial planner, talked about financial planning and property planning. We had a couple of lawyers talking about wills, estate planning, testamentary trust, contract law, modifying the contract of sale. We had Pasha, who's a specialist on getting your credit file fixed. So if you have any marks on your credit file, he can get them fixed. And also we had a Brendan, who's director of landmark inspections, an expert on property inspections, pre-settlement and post-settlement. This is like a detailed 4-day program now designed to get you started in property and fast-track your experience. Now, these guys are not academics, guys. These are people that have clients in Melbourne that are building large property portfolios. We're not professors sitting in some campus in a dark cubicle somewhere with textbooks. We're actually doing this for clients every day, guys. These lawyers are settling hundreds of properties per year for investors. These accountants are setting up hundreds of trusts. Stephen's doing hundreds of settlements for property investors. We're sourcing hundreds of properties. We're not theorists. We're going to show you what's working right now in the market and what people are doing to get massive success and massive momentum. So we've turned this into a home study, which is available for you to watch at your leisure from any electronic device. It's got a manual as well. It's $997, and you can jump onto propertyriches.com.au/PPS 2022. $1,000, guys. It's the best 1,000 you're going to spend, apart from the $47 on my book, right? If you had to pay these individuals for their time, just the lawyers would charge you $250 an hour. So imagine how much time you have in 28 hours of contents, perfectly structured in a logical sequence, and you can watch it whenever you want, and you've got a 500-page manual. I mean, this is, if you don't spend $1,000 on your personal development in property, you need to work on your psychology and mindset, because really, like, this is just the bread and butter. You really should be spending 10% of everything you're making per year on personal development until you get exactly where you want to get. So spending $1,000 for a 4-day course teaching about property investing, that's like, to me, that's the best use of your money before you spend anything on the property, you know. So by all means, you're more than welcome to buy this program. It's 100% money back guarantee. If you're unhappy with it, just email us. We'll give you a refund instantly, no questions asked. We've had amazing reviews from this program. Not only the 80, 90 people that were there live when it was recorded, but just people that have listened to it. They said it's life-changing. There's distinctions there about trust, lending, structuring that we don't cover in any other forum or any of my YouTube videos. So we spill our guts in these programs, basically give you all the secrets and all the different distinctions that can make all the difference to you. So definitely encourage you to get this. It cost me, by the way, personally, $90,000 to record this event when we did it over 4 days. So I think it's the best money I've ever spent. It was an amazing event. And by the way, we run a new one probably next year. I invite you guys over to attend the live event. It's an amazing energy there to be there 4 days, immersed in this information with other investors. Also, if you want to have a catch up with myself, if you want to use our services for sourcing properties, then I'm offering you a 60 free strategy session with myself, or we'll develop a plan. I'll work out where you are, where you want to be, work out how to get there from A to B in the fastest possible way. Remember, the plan is everything. First you do the plan, and then you use property as a vehicle to get you from A to B. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's that simple. Most people spend their life doing this, from A to B, wasting all these years buying house and land packages in Point Cook and Dockland apartments and holiday lets in Queensland, and 10 years later, they've got nothing to show for it. No cash flow positive properties, disasters, no growth, and they wonder, what the hell, why isn't this working? Well, you've taken action, which is great, but you need the team behind you. You need those experts that can make all the difference. And this is what we do with clients. Establish A, establish B, and we establish the point of least resistance, the path that would get you from A to B with the fastest possible methodology without any fuss. So it's an hour strategy session via Zoom. I'll work out where you are, where you want to be. I'll give you feedback about what's possible, how much money you can borrow. I can refer you to all my team, my mortgage broker, accountant, property solicitor, conveyancer, quantity surveyor, insurance specialist, financial planners, the whole thing. I'll give you a personal introduction to the whole team. Just for that, it's worth attending the 60-minute presentation. Well, it's a strategy session, not a presentation, I should say. We develop a strategy that's unique to you. Everyone's got a different strategy, different outcome, different objectives, different amount of income they're earning, different tax objectives. Some of you are at the beginning of the career getting your first property. Some of you have some properties. Some of you have cross-collateralized all your assets and you've made mistakes, and we have to undo all that stuff before we can put you on the right path. There is no simple way of one blanket rule or one blanket, blueprint. Every single consultation that I've done in 10 years has been unique. But it's a step-by-step blueprint on how to get, once we establish where you are, where you want to be, I'll show you what you need to do and what steps you need to take in order to maximize the potential of replacing your income and building wealth through property. Now, there is a minimum qualifying criteria. If you're any single individual, you need to have at least 95 grand income per year, so you can borrow at least 700,000 and have about 112,000 in equity or cash available. Otherwise, you can't buy a property for 700,000. And I don't have anything under 700,000. And I don't plan to have anything under 700,000. 695 is like the cheapest properties that I source. If you're a couple, you need to be on 140 and have about 112,000 in available equity. And then we can talk about because if you can't get into your first property, guys, there's no point seeing me because I can't help you. And I don't do properties for 450 or 500 in regional towns. I'm not in that space. So I only work with the high-end market. So basically, you're more than welcome to listen to the education and use our services in terms of my books and my events that I run. But in terms of consultation, probably wouldn't be worth your while, wasting an hour and just me telling you I can't help you, can't do anything, and I don't know how to get you from A to B. So once you qualify, all you got to do is, if you've been to a live event, just send me this form, or just email me conrad@investorsprime.com.au and just put consultation request and your details, and I'll be in touch with you and I'll book you in, and you'll be dealing with me personally. And that's it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the information at this video, and I hope to meet you in person at one of my future live events. This is Conrad Bobilac. I'll see you on the inside.